Hey guys, welcome to TCT time! Yay!
Yay!
So today we're here with a brand new cast of people. And we have, first of all, Eddie in the corner here, Jason,
Hi.
and Kyle.
Hi.
And I am Shizuka. And today we're going to be talking about the Japanese entertainment industry because we are all actors here today. What? What on earth? How did this happen? What a coincidence. But I thought first of all it'd be really interesting to talk about how we all got started in the entertainment industry in Japan, because a lot of people are wondering, some people who come to Japan, they're really interested in getting started acting. They're always like, how do we start? What's the first step? And for you guys, I think we all have a little bit of a different background.
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit, Eddie, what is your main focus in the industry? Are you an actress or do you do narrations?
I am actress in film mainly, but when I started acting thing was voiceover actually.
Ooh.
Yeah, the animation and doubling thing. That's how I started.
Like you were doing the voice acting for animes?
Yeah, I was learning voice acting for anime for 5 years.
Jealous.
I would love to do that.
Do that.
I would love
Totally
to.
do that.
Oh, really? The thing is, though, for us, we'd probably be the English voiceover
Yeah,
actors,
we
and they
wouldn't be doing
only
it.
do those abroad. Like
Yeah.
they do
Yeah.
they record those in North America.
Yeah.
Darn it, in the wrong area.
We're in the wrong place.
Yeah, we're not in the right country.
What are we doing here? Okay, cool. So you were doing voiceovers, and now you're focused on like film acting.
Yes.
Very cool. Okay. And how about for you, Jason? What's your
My
background?
story, my background is a little bit different. I was an aspiring stage actor. And studying stage, you actually learn all of the elements. You learn the acting, you learn the singing, you learn the dancing, you learn the articulation, you learn all of those techniques, which is very surprisingly able to be applied to the entire industry. So because of the voice training I received, I was able to do radio work or television work, and because I was studying acting and dance, I was able to work on TV and on stage. So I've been able to kind of apply my knowledge and experience to a pretty wide spectrum of jobs here in Japan.
Right. Did you have that like that acting stage background before you moved to Japan?
I did. In university, I was actually a dancer, and I was performing, I was acting in shows and competing on behalf of my university around the country. So I had that experience kind of leading up to it. But what I found was when I came to Japan, that experience only gave me this much of an edge. What the Japanese wanted was to see the education. So after I had been in Tokyo for about 6 months, I entered into a school that was specifically for the arts. And so I was learning voice, dance, and acting in Japanese in Japan. And so having
That's
that
nice.
on my resume gave me kind of the push into auditions and to roles and to parts that weren't available to someone who just had experience.
Right.
So the Japanese really liked having, even though when I would go to the auditions, even if I wasn't the best actor, having that on my resume kind of gave me the edge. And the opposite is true. Before I had that on my resume, I would be in auditions and know that I was the best actor there, but this person has, a drama class on their resume. And it's so like,
Oh no, a drama class.
so, I know. So
It was an hour-long seminar.
yeah. So putting the education on my resume really kind of gave me an extra edge, I think.
That's interesting. That's a really good piece of advice, I think, for people who are trying to really get those good jobs in Tokyo, because otherwise you're kind of stuck as an extra, as like what?
Right.
I feel the
Right?
same way. I feel like
Extra
the
for life.
industry
Extra
in
for
the
life.
past it was, if you didn't have a Japanese face or you had a hybrid face where with more than one nationality, that you were kind of already in. And now the industry is so saturated that if you don't have the experience and education to back up yourself, you really don't have much to offer.
Very true. Yeah,
Just
that's
static at that point.
That's very
Static
true.
noise.
Exactly. That's the same for basically any of the foreign actors too. Like I think there was a time where you could just be a foreign actor, and then you would get all of the jobs, just because there were not so many foreign people in Tokyo. And that was a good time for foreign actors, I'm sure.
That was before my time.
Yeah.
That was before I got here.
Exactly.
I've heard tales of those glory days where I get paid to go to auditions.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
But now it's nothing like that.
Not
Nothing
No.
like that.
No.
But speaking of which, like, what is your, first of all, what is your kind of acting background?
Well, my background is complete opposite of Jason because I came without the resume. I started from the bottom. My skills were honed in the field.
Wow.
I had dabbled back in Canada before I came. I'd taken a couple of classes here and again, but I didn't know the importance of writing down on my resume, for example, or just writing down that I've done some extra work back then, or whatever it was. But that wasn't my education either. I've been studying like Asian culture and things like that. But essentially done a lot of different work back in Canada, and I really wanted to do acting and entertainment for all my life, but just never really got into it. I didn't know how. And then thanks to the language of Japanese, I came to Japan. I was learning Japanese, and there was an invitation to try some entertainment work at that point. And I tried that, and it kind of stuck with me. Like, that was really amazing. I really enjoyed that. Then I went back home, did a bunch of other different work, graduated university. My Japanese was dwindling. Like, I need to go back to Japan. I was like, I want to do entertainment work. So I just quit. I'm doing this. So my start was getting on a plane, saying, I'm doing this. And then I started at the bottom, like extra, like
Wow.
the crappiest job.
We have all been there. We've all been there.
Crawled up from the abyss. It's like, no.
Oh my
Wow.
God.
Getting hit by boulders on the way up and getting knocked back to the bottom all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
We have all been there.
Yeah, the extra. And did you
It's a
also
struggle.
do extra work as well?
Well, a few times.
Okay.
But, I don't want to say they don't pay enough, but it's true, right? So
Because they don't pay enough.
Don't pay enough.
Typically extra work, you don't get a whole lot of money, but
like they keep us 12 hours, then pay.
Yeah, but some
So
of those
it's kinda-
jobs you get a bento. So hey,
Right.
They do feed you most of the time. Yes.
and you may get to be in a film. So hey,
Yeah,
Maybe
you might get
for
cut right
half
out.
a second, or
Yeah.
you're cut out. Yeah, anything can happen when you're an extra.
it's like playing at a casino. You never know if you're gonna
Yep.
hit or not. So
It's true. It's true.
Right.
And if you're lucky, if you're very lucky, they might give your extra role a speaking part,
Right.
and then you're just like,
I said
made it!
words.
But that's when you got to get your agency on the phone right away because they might try to slip that in sometimes, like give you a speaking role and they'll still keep you at an extra. But that's an upgrade in role at that point. That's a speaking role, so that's either featured extra or even a role.
Right.
So
Right.
you really got to get on that phone if that happens because there's been many times where I've heard people have got speaking roles. I'm like, yeah, I was an extra. I was like, dude, that's not an extra anymore. Yeah, so.
True. That's a good point. You might get a solid credit recognition, like man in cafe,
Well, I don't know if
man
they- I don't know if
standing
they
in
do that to
line.
you.
I think there's a
They
lot
might.
of gambles
If
that
you-
happen.
depends on the- yeah.
I actually went to an audition once, and I won't say who it was, but it was a company that everyone on the planet knows. And I went in, and there was maybe 20 or 25 people in there, and they said, okay, just a quick audition. So first of all, just stand up and say the company's name. And so everyone stand up and says the company name. And they said, okay, you, and you guys can stick around. The rest of you, thank you so much. So I was one of the 10 people that they asked to stay.
Oh.
And we went upstairs and they said, okay, here's the deal. We will pay each of you the same amount of money, but we don't know whose voice we're going to use. So and to myself, I had been in Tokyo for like less than a month. And I was like, I get paid even if I don't get the job. I love it. And so I was like, sure, yeah,
Sign me up.
I'll do it. And yeah, sure, I can say that. It's a short name. I can say it easy. So, and then of the people that were there, some said, no, I can't. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to gamble. So there was maybe 5 or 6 that actually was like, sure, yeah, pay me either way, whatever. And so I went in, and the actual recording took less than 5 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Because it was just the name of the company and then the catchphrase for that promotion.
Right.
And I think a couple weeks later, I got paid. It was maybe like $200. I was like, oh my gosh, $200? And all I said was the company name and one catchphrase. Oh my gosh, this industry is amazing.
Amazing.
But then I got a call from my friend who was in the movies, and she said, oh my gosh, I just saw your commercial and it was your voice. So they had used my commercial in the you know how before the movie started, they show commercials?
Yes.
And then it was used on TV, and then it was used in the showroom, and then it was used very widely for about 6 months.
Wow.
So,
They did you dirty.
So I got paid $200
Oh, no.
for a job that another actor probably could have been paid
Yeah.
a lot of money for.
Right.
Yeah.
But because of that job, I'm not bitter, whatever, and I actually own several products made by that company, so I'm not bitter. I got $200 for it.
Yeah.
Right.
For 5
I mean-
minutes of work.
And
Wow.
if
Yeah.
it's 5 minutes of work, it's hard to really complain. Like, that's what I love about narration work, is
Yep.
that it's so short. Like, I did one yesterday too, and I just narrated 2 lines, and it's like $100. Like,
Done.
Yay!
like it's
Done.
that's so I feel like narration work is kind of like, it's just such a good.
It can be a good gig.
Narration is the
gig.
holy grail.
It really is, and you don't need to worry about how you look. You just go in, use your voice,
And you're
then
done.
you're out.
Wait. I'll pause you there.
Okay.
because there has been times where I have failed photo selection for a narration
Really?
job.
What?
Yes.
There's a photo
They-
selection for narration.
I'm not kidding you. They ask to see the person's picture, and I have failed narration jobs on photo selection alone.
Oh my gosh.
So it's
That's insane.
I
Think your
think you're
appearance-
cute. I would pick you for a photo selection of a narration job if your voice
well,
was
if they wanted like a burly, like lumberjack type of voice, man, and they look at my picture like
Why do they
he
care
couldn't
how you
possibly make
look?
that voice.
Was your
I don't
picture
know.
going to be used on, like, the voice of this person is this
I
person?
doubt it.
That's silly.
Guaranteed your agency said, oh, sorry, Kyle, they didn't like your face. they didn't want to tell you that your voice wasn't the right voice. It was your face.
That's terrible. Did you have any similar experience for voiceover work? Like, do they look at your photos?
No, I never heard that. Like, they
This is my
have photo
first time.
selection. My
Wow.
guy's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Wow.
Usually you just send in a voice sample.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's usually right. Like
Yeah.
I send in the voice sample, and they specifically ask for like the pictures and stuff. And this has happened to me like 2 or 3 times in my career here. It's like, wow,
What?
picture selection for
For a voice
a
job.
voice job.
That's so strange. So strange. But I mean, at least you got those jobs. But I also wanted to ask.
No, he
though-
didn't get the
I-
job.
Oh, you didn't get those jobs. I'm sorry. You didn't get that job. I'm so sorry.
Done.
That just.
God, no.
You didn't get that job. But I'd like to segue, if that's okay.
Sure.
We're gonna segue. So speaking of getting jobs, how would someone who's starting out in the industry start getting those kind of jobs? Like, what would be your first step, and how did you guys kind of first jump into the industry? How about for you?
For me, I actually kind of had like a half of a foot in the door before I came to Tokyo, and the reason is a year before I came to Tokyo, I entered a speech contest, and it was sponsored by NHK, which is the National Broadcasting Service here in Japan, and it was a speech contest for Japanese-speaking foreigners. So for people who are not from Japan who could speak Japanese. So at the time I was an English teacher at a junior high school, and I entered this speech contest as a way to be an example to my students. Like, I'm going to try and speak a foreign language, so you guys should try as well.
Right.
So I entered the speech contest and was selected to be a national competitor. and I went to the national competition, and I actually won.
Oh
so
my God.
I was the national champion Japanese speaker. So when I came to Tokyo, I had this thing on my resume that I was the national champion speaker, and so they were able to agencies were able to even though I had no experience in Japan on stage or on any other aspect than just the speech contest. So I kind of had this thing on my resume that said I was the national Japanese speech championship. As you can tell, I'm really eloquent. But no, I had on my resume.
I sense some foul play here.
So on my resume, I had this, this thing that said I was the national champion for this speech competition. Plus, I had equity level stage performances in the States. So I had these kind of two things that I was able to start with.
Right.
And I just went to agencies and registered everywhere. And then I did a lot of cattle calls. Looking online, going to auditions, and sometimes being the only non-Japanese person there. Sometimes they would see me and say, okay, yeah, sure. And sometimes they'd be like, we're only looking for Japanese.
Right.
So you live and you learn.
Right. That's really cool. That's a really cool point about finding those, for example, online audition calls and things like that, and you just apply for them. Sometimes you think is this really going to be, is this a legit job? It's just on the internet. Sometimes you wonder, but those things can surprisingly, they can be good sometimes. And you've had a couple of good gigs from them?
I've gotten national tours from jobs I found in the newspaper.
Wow, that's so cool. Those, so they've auditioned magazines, right?
Yep, magazines specifically for auditions. But they're in Japanese, so you have to speak Japanese or,
Right, that's really cool. So basically, start out applying to agencies and then looking at those magazines. And then how about for you? How did you first figure out, where to go to get these jobs?
Well, I started completely the agency route. I went through agencies, got jobs, went to auditions constantly, and just gradually built up a rapport and that sort of thing with different clients and stuff. The more jobs you do, the more directors you meet, the more clients remember you, they call you back, and so on and so forth. That's how I broke into reporting, and that's become one of my personal niches that I enjoy. So I'm focused on acting and reporting right now, but it's just the more jobs you do, the more jobs you do well, of course.
Right.
And to do a job well, I just want to say to people who want to break into the industry, learn Japanese. I cannot understate how important this is. I have gotten jobs. I beat out 3 buses of professional models from overseas once for this catalog, simply because none of them spoke Japanese. I was the only one who spoke Japanese. The director thought, I can work with you. It's so easy to give you directions. I can just speak to you in Japanese, no problem. I am not a professional model by any means. I lack the height, I lack the body build, but I beat them all.
Wow.
So, because I spoke Japanese, and this, I can just count this on my, many hands, that how many times this has been a powerful tool. So that's the elephant in the room. No one wants to talk about people complaining about their work and booking jobs for the... Please, just learn Japanese. Speak your language.
My question is, how do people that don't speak Japanese think that they're going to be successful in Japan
It's true.
without speaking Japanese?
It's very
If
true.
I may, I'm thinking it's part of the old dogma, we spoke about before, the OG, foreigners that came here before our time.
Before our time.
When they didn't have to speak Japanese. They just
Good
had
point.
the face, they'd show up, they wouldn't be held responsible for having lines or just doing anything, just be there and just be foreign. And that was it, they didn't have to. And they tell everyone, that's how it came, come to Japan, be a foreign actor, you don't have to learn Japanese, da-da-da. And that spread, but that is not the times anymore.
Yeah.
You need
So
to speak
true.
the language. It's just smoother on set, just smoother for just sheer direction, everything else. So
Very
And
true.
it's easier for agencies to use you if you speak Japanese, because then they don't have to send the manager with you.
Yes.
You can be like, oh, Kyle's going to be there. Kyle, yoroshiku.
Yeah,
Exactly.
just go to the gig
Yeah.
and then figure things out. Yeah, that's so true. That's a really good point. Back in the day, there was a time where just your face was enough. And I mean, in some professional high fashion modeling, I think maybe those kind of foreign models can come and just have their beautiful faces and their
Definitely.
blonde hair
And they
and be
still do.
tall and thin, and they're still gonna get some jobs. But I mean, those are models, professional
Yeah.
models. But basically, for acting, you should speak the language.
Totally.
Yes, definitely. And in your case, I guess, I suppose you would agree. I think you went to Canada, is that right? To study
Right.
English so that
Yeah.
you could get into the North American acting scene or Hollywood scene?
Well, both.
Yes. So you kind of saw the importance of like learning English,
Right.
right, to get into the industry.
Yeah, like in his case, well, and you as well, you guys have to speak Japanese because you guys want to work in Japan.
Yeah.
Same. Well, I want to work in Hollywood, US, or all over the world. I have to speak English because English is worldwide language.
Right.
So I have to. So I had to learn.
Right.
So I just went to Canada for a year and a half then.
Canada, woo!
Yes.
Yes, good for you. That's a really, really great thing. Like, just take that step. It's hard to move to a new country and just start fresh and like learn a new language that you couldn't speak before. So it's a huge struggle. And I think, of course, everyone at this table understands that struggle, but it pays off. Yeah, that hard work pays off. And I was wondering, because your background is a little bit different from us. You're kind of a little bit in the Japanese side of the industry, but also you're freelance-ish, I believe?
I am freelance-ish, but I have manager
Okay.
in Japan. So
I see. And how did you first get started in your case, like getting work in the entertainment industry here?
well, I was freelance for a long time, so I was always like looking for any like possibility from website, or like when I meet people, like I ask, do you know any like good workshop, like audition workshop? Then I just go there and then get to know director. Then I don't know, like
That's very smart.
in Japan, like there are a lot of workshop audition. Is that famous in like North?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, very common.
So the focus is like how to do well in auditions. I guess that's what the workshop is for?
Workshop.
Well, the workshop is like the director teaches an acting class, basically, and sees how actors work and take direction and how they interact. And then they, if they like someone or if they think they're skillful, they're like, hey, I'm having another workshop, come to my other workshop. And that's how a lot of casting actually happens. It's at the workshop, because at an audition you see someone for 3 minutes tops.
Right.
Yeah.
But at a workshop you can see them for 2 or 3 hours.
Right.
As I've done them in Japan too, and gotten gigs from Japanese workshops.
Ooh, that's very good. That's another point that people should consider if you want to seriously
Take the
pursue
workshops.
acting.
Take the workshops. Yep.
Right.
It's a bit of a capital investment, but hey, it's an investment in yourself.
It
so-
pays off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Pay the $100, $200, whatever it is. Take the workshop.
Right. And clearly, from what I've picked up, from our discussion here, is that like having the experience is clearly very important, and having kind of like almost certifications, because Japan is renowned for loving certifications. Like they love shikaku, which is like having a certification. It could be anything, but just showing your language ability, showing some kind of skills that you have. Like if you have a certification to prove it, they're just like, oh, this is great, this is an amazing resume, and they might take you just for that. So just anything to help you stand out. So take those workshops, take those classes, study Japanese, take a JLPT, and get the highest level you can get, and that'll pay off pretty much. Yeah, but I think this has been a very interesting discussion, and it's about time for us to wrap up. So thank you guys so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I've learned a lot, and I hope you guys learned a lot as well about trying to make it in the Japanese entertainment industry. And we'll have another interesting topic for you again next time. So see you guys in the next video. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.